Hello, and welcome to another episode of Broadcast Movie and TV Talk. So I got around to seeing the latest DCEU movie, and that is Shazam. And yes, I know I'm late to the party, but things came up and Avengers Endgame happened, and so yeah, I now got around to seeing this movie with my darling as well. And so, let us dive right into this. Actually, before I do, just know that spoiler stuff will be said, so if you're like me and waited forever to see this movie, go see it or be spoiled. Final thing I want to say is that aside from him appearing in some Cyborg comics I've read, I don't know anything about the character of Shazam other than what is presented here in the movie. So if I see something that is answered in or explained in the comics, don't say anything, or if you feel the need to tell me, then do so nicely. Now, let's get into it. First thing I want to talk about is the wizard guy who gives Billy his powers. In the beginning of the movie, the wizard guy has this whole test thing to make sure the person who is granted his power is worthy and pure of heart and all that stuff. First, we see a young Savannah who ends up as the villain of the movie, who doesn't pass the test and is deemed unworthy to have the wizard's power. So then Savannah becomes an adult and has become obsessed with finding a way back to the wizard guy, which I will come back to later. And when Savannah comes back to the wizard guy's realm, he takes the eye and frees the 7 deadly sins. So then Billy shows up at the realm of the wizard guy, and the wizard guy just gives Billy his power without any kind of test because the statues of the 7 deadly sins are no longer there. What I'm getting at here is that the wizard tells them all about, being pure of heart, but yet he has no way to test Billy and instead just gives Billy his powers because the wizard is in a pinch and needs a champion right now. But I find that until the end of the movie, Billy doesn't do a whole lot to be considered as pure of heart and all that stuff that the wizard guy says that he needs to do for getting his power. Billy spends most of the time being very selfish with his power and only saving some people here and there. I know that the wizard guy didn't have a choice at the point when Billy shows up, but I feel like he didn't seem worthy till the end of the movie. The second thing I want to talk about is that when the wizard guy is doing the transfer of power to Billy, that among things I couldn't hear and could hear, I heard the names of Zeus, Mercury, and one other I can't seem to remember. The point is that he names off Greek and Roman gods, yet the villains of this movie are the 7 deadly sins, the Christian ones. I'm only pointing this out because it seems kind of odd to me. Now, to add to that, because this goes with the 7 deadly sins, and that's how the movie, the only one I could identify of the 7 deadly sins is gluttony. All the other sins just look like gray, monster-y things and have wings and tentacles that make it really hard to tell who they are. It was not until Shazam says that he figured it out that I came up with the really tall one with the fingernail knives as lust. And I'm just guessing because I have no idea if I'm right here. I really don't know how in the movie Shazam was able to tell the difference between each of the sins. The next thing I want to talk about is the villain, Savannah. His motivations are weak and development is weak. He obviously is one of many who were deemed not pure of heart by the wizard guy, but out of all those people, Savannah is the only one that took some sort of major interest in getting back to the realm that the wizard guy is in. I mean, all the other people that the wizard guy had contacted and found not to be pure of heart just think it was some kind of weird one-time thing. But Savannah funded an entire research project just to be able to go back to the realm of the wizard because he was just that interested in going back for some reason. Anyway, he does manage to go back and get the eye and free the sins and bring them to our regular realm. And the first thing he does is find his older brother and dad and use the sins to kill them because of that thing in the beginning of the movie. Why did he kill them? Their family, right? I understand all of what happened in the car in the beginning of the movie when Savannah was a kid, but he's been carrying this grudge with him for so long that he wanted to kill his brother and dad over it. So after he does that, one of the sins tells him to find the wizard's champion and get the power from him. Why? Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but they don't explain why Savannah needs Shazam's power. What will he gain by having the power with his eye and the sins? All they tell Savannah is to get to the champion before he realizes his full range of abilities. But again, why? Like, I feel that the whole reason that Savannah went after Shazam is because he's the hero and Savannah is the villain, and so they're supposed to fight it out because movie. Like I said, the villain motivations are very weak and the development just isn't there. I'd also like to add that after they deal with the sins and separate the eye and all that, we just leave Savannah there. I know he is knocked out, unconscious, but we never actually see the police show up at any point to take him to jail. Just not a very good villain overall. Biggest thing I want to talk about with this movie is how it's set in the DCEU. And the movie just seems to be overly aware that it is set in a universe where the Justice League is real. This is the second movie in the universe that takes place after Justice League. The first being Aquaman, and that movie didn't do what I'm about to say here. I get that this movie is more grounded in the reality of the universe with the focus on regular everyday people and not take us to too many fantastic locations. A lot of the time in the movie, Freddy is shown to wear clothes or have memorabilia from characters in the DCEU. I noticed that several times Freddy wore many Aquaman shirts, a Wonder Woman shirt, and one Superman shirt with a Superman backpack. Of course, in the room that Freddy and Billy share, he has a replica Batarang, Freddy does, and a bullet that was supposedly shot at Superman in a drawer full of newspapers with Superman in the headlines. Plus, when Shazam is trying to fly, Freddy suggests trying to do it Superman style. I'm bringing this up because sure, the Justice League saved the world in their movie, but like, did they go and do interviews and say that they're the Justice League who just saved the world? Otherwise, how would there be Justice League merch in the universe? This movie is almost too self-aware of the universe that it is in. Like when Savannah kidnaps Freddy, he shouts supervillain many times, and Billy, to Billy, supervillains are just an important part of having superheroes around. I honestly can't tell if this movie is being self-aware of the universe, if it bothers me, or if it's just a whatever. Like, in the MCU, you see that type of thing in a very limited way in all of the movies, so I don't know why this DCEU movie went very all in on this is a part of the DCEU because we're referencing our own characters that are a part of the universe. Okay, last thing is about the sadness of the arc of Billy is Billy. When we're introduced to Billy in the movie, he uses a computer and a cop car to try to find someone he thinks is his mom, and he has a list of people that could possibly be his mom, but have not panned out. So later in the movie, one of the people living with Billy finds where his actual mom is. Side note, the kid mentions that because of playing certain video games like Watch Dogs, they picked up on skills to get into some federal databases, and no, I'm sorry, you can't play Watch Dogs and learn how to hack databases. Now, back to the main point. So Billy finds his actual mom, and she tells him what happened the day he thought he lost her, and it turns out that she actually abandoned him, and even now says it's not a good time for her to be his mom because she never found out his dad, who has been in prison for 10 years, and really moved on. But seriously, how much of a gut punch would that be to find that your real mom is alive and get a story about how she basically didn't want you then and doesn't want you now? That sure would be hard to get over right away and go fight your empty villains, which is exactly what Billy has to do. Great parenting skills to his mom, and in her explanation she mentions that she was 17 when her parents kicked her out. So yeah, this movie is actually really good, and the message is supposed to be about family. That's all I have to say, so if you want to add to the conversation, leave a comment below. As always, thanks for listening and goodbye.